It's just water, but cold. I've been in cold weather. I've been hit by cold blasts of wind before. I've taken cold showers before that are longer than 5 seconds. And yet the body's like, no, 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 no. And in that sense, we create what we're about to do into this huge thing in our heads. And it's not even a tangible thing. We can't really describe what it is. And so we don't do it. We don't start. But I would challenge you that when you're thinking of starting, when you don't know how to start, just describe what it is you're doing. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Video Game Therapy. I'm gonna pour myself my cup of water. Slurp, slurp, slurp. It is currently Saturday afternoon. Latest I've ever recorded a VGT, just in terms of how close to deadline. Let's get into Alto's Adventure Zen mode, shall we? There were a lot of topics on my mind as of late. And I'm clicking. Just you and the Endless Mountain. Okay. One of them, I'm going to use my space bar actually. I'm using my mechanical keyboard, so apologies if you hear that. But one of the topics that I had written down, and I will get to in the future, I just want to think about it some more, is having no patience synonymous with not willing to try. We're not going to get into that. I'm curious if people are interested to hear more about it though. And one thing that came up to mind recently came to mind when I was watching Haikyuu, the anime about volleyball. Looks like there's a basketball version. I'm a little curious about it, but I watched the first season except for like the last 3 episodes a while ago. And then I finished the last 3 episodes just now. And, I feel like I talk about anime in a few VGTs, and I've definitely mentioned this before, I believe, Neil Gaiman's idea of truth and fiction. And I think that even in shows like anime that are, very out there, there's a lot of truth that can be taken away from it. Now, in the case of Haikyuu, there's no fantasy elements. It's just very intense. And it's anime, so, there's those monologues that happen in the blink of an eye. Excuse me. And I got to thinking, you see these guys practice they put their lives into the sport, right? And sometimes, I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, man, I feel like I could do that. Like if I was committed to a sport, I could do like after school, spend 3 hours a day, just doing that sport. And extrapolating a little bit, sometimes I think, some days I should just run for an hour, just hard commit to it. And I still want to do that, the running thing. And then came the thought, are sports or physical activities easier to practice than sedentary ones? That's the title of the video, as you've seen. Now, the immediate answer is no, because I don't, like, the first time I thought about it, I was like, wow, people who, do sports for a living would not be happy with that. I think they're just very different because I feel like coding is a bad example, but maybe art, maybe practicing art. It's really technology based though, but are they different? Maybe they're not. Here we go. So the reason why I wanted to say this is because like the thought first came up like, wow, like I could really put my whole into, volleyball. But I've been saying volleyball, right? Haikyuu's volleyball. For some reason, I feel like this is the first time I've said volleyball this entire time. It's cool. I was like, wow, if I was adamant about volleyball, I could put my whole day into it, but I'm not. I edit a lot of videos, whatever. I do some coding, and I don't really do anything that intensely. That's the problem with being a jack of all trades. I think, I don't put myself fully into anything, really. I do a lot of things, but none of them I do 100%, which is unfortunate for many reasons, but then I realized, like, is it easier to get into the zone, into the flow state, I guess, with sports than it is with, coding or animation or art? And the reason I thought that was because there's more physical feedback. Sports are most definitely more difficult to practice because there are biological limitations you're dealing with. With something maybe like programming, you're dealing with the rate of acquiring new knowledge, I guess. And when anyone says anyone can code, I think it's, or at least when I say, of course you can code, it's the same thing as anyone can become a good runner. You just have to start somewhere and you have to build up to it. I talked about this in yesterday's devlog, which went up on my lifestyle channel. Yeah, this is really all over the place. But when you practice, it's not about practice, but your end goal. Because practicing in any case is not, I don't want to say not fun, but it's not as enjoyable. When when you're sludging through the code for a game, it's like, oh, this bug, dude. When you're practicing, your 500th free throw for the day in basketball, like, come on. Like, when you're waking up at 4 a.m. for the runs, oh, God. Oh, I just inhaled my water. I'm gonna leave that in because I think it's funny. Excuse me. Now, excuse me. Let's use these two examples because there's two types of endurance happening. In running or basketball, there's a physical endurance. You'll probably hit it sooner in running than you will basketball, simply because running is an ongoing activity. You do a bunch of free throws, you collect the balls, you do whatever. And free throws is right in the middle of running and something like coding, where, coding, you're sitting there the whole time, but your mind gets tired. You get tired and sometimes it's best to take a break to solve problems. And so on this scale of endurance, I think it's easier to actually practice code. But there's a converse to that. It's easier to practice something like art or coding if you're sedentary. Or sorry. Oh man. It's easier to get good at it and sit there and do nothing. But it's more difficult to get in the zone, because with sports, there's this physical feedback. The best athletes are usually so emotionally invested in it. That's, man, I have totally lost my train of thought. But, sometimes when I run, I say, okay, just start, and I get into it. I hit that endorphin rush. I guess the runner's high is what they call it. When I'm coding, sometimes I do get lost in something, right? That hour can sometimes feel like agony, and it can sometimes go by like that. But for me, I think it's easier to, sit in front of the bag for a workout and just go at it. I mean, today I did it for maybe 30 minutes, and I've become very, very sedentary lately. I had a shoulder injury that went to, full-fledged injury in November, and I've been doing almost nothing. Maybe the occasional run, and that needs to change. And it is changing. I am changing it. My shoulder is still not like feeling great, but I figure I'm gonna, start working it back into things. But I don't know if any of this is making sense. But I think one of the main difficulties with me in getting to focus on animation or art is, I guess not art because it's physical, but the digital things there's always distractions in alt tab away. Whereas sports, you're there. You can get just fully present. And so the food for thought here is just that, how can we isolate our digital environments to focus in? Maybe you're writing a paper, shut out everything else. Create that environment for yourself. Yeah, I'm so sorry this VGT is all over the place. This is not one of my best. It's just one of those moments where I'm not like feeling forced to do it, or not, I'm not fully in the thought, and it's just a thought that came up earlier. However, I think the most difficult part about each of these activities, the sedentary ones and the mainly physical ones, is that they're just as difficult as each other to start. For me, my issue is always starting, and that's a lot of people's issues. With procrastination, people just never start. One of the best things I've done for myself is that when an assignment is assigned, and I actually haven't done it this semester, I need to do that, just start on it. Open the Word document, title it, and save it. That's it. Just that. Maybe even do part 1, that first question. Maybe just read it. Get the assignment, read it, and make the document. Prep your brain. What are you going to need? Are you going to need the textbook? Are you going to need a calculator? Whatever it might be. When you're doing sports, for example, my morning runs, I got 4 days in a row, and then snow, and my brain won out, my lack of willpower. when you're doing sports, just get dressed. Don't stress about it. Not this morning, this afternoon, after I finished my bag thing, I wasn't very sweaty, but I went to take a shower anyway, just a quick 5-minute shower. And I turned it to cold and I got in for about 5 seconds. And it's funny because cold showers, there's just such a strong sense of apprehension of getting in. And it's like, what's the worst that can happen? This is not going to kill me. In an average scenario, taking a cold shower is not going to kill me. It's just water, but cold. I've been in cold weather. I've been hit by cold blasts of wind before. I've taken cold showers before that are longer than 5 seconds. And yet the body is like, no. And in that sense, we create what we're about to do into this huge thing in our heads. And it's not even a tangible thing. We can't really describe what it is. And so we don't do it. We don't start. But I would challenge you that when you're thinking of starting, when you don't know how to start, just describe what it is you're doing. Taking a cold shower, okay. It's water that's gonna fall on me and it's cold. Why do I not want to do this? Discomfort? Okay, turn it to hot water after 10 seconds. Negotiate if you have to, but it's just cold water. I'm going to do my essay. But I want to watch a YouTube video. Okay, hold up. This essay, huge task. Okay. Gotta write it all. Okay, stealing a lot. What's the next step? The next step. Okay, so let's just open the document. All right, let me read the prompt. Oh, okay. How does Aristotle's Poetics relate to some type of game? Man, the Olympic Games could be a cool. Okay. And if you want to stop, just stop there. Or focus on that next step again. You don't have to think about the thing in the big picture. Just take that next step. And for physical activities, this is where that shower thing comes in. The cold runs in the morning. I would wake up at 6:45 and I would want to be on the pavement by 7. And I think, oh man. And then I think to myself, what's so bad about it? I go outside. I go for, I can't say go for a run, but one foot in front of the other, and I try to go at a fast pace, and I get out of breath, and I get tired, and I get exhausted. My muscles get tired, and maybe my lungs hurt a little bit, but that's temporary. I've recovered from that before. No reason I can't again. And so it becomes a little like, okay, this isn't too bad in my head. We just create these concepts. This is VGT right here. We create these concepts in our head of things, and they lose what they are in the real world. So a run becomes this more demanding task than what it actually is. A cold shower becomes a daunting activity. Starting on that coding assignment or that written essay becomes a huge thing in our head. And yeah, focus on the next step in the future, I suppose is what I mean to say. I don't know if I'm going to keep the title of this video as the sports thing. Maybe I will, but I'll definitely put this at the start because this is what I wanted to get to in the end. Some things might be easier to practice than others. It could be simply because of their nature. It's easier to practice reading than it is to practice running, simply because in reading you're sitting. So on a biological level, it's easier. But it's more difficult to do reading than running on a focus level. Because if you have your phone next to you when you're running, you might be listening to music. You can't really run, look at your phone, but you can easily put the book down. If you're running, you can, stop running, but you still have to walk or stand there outside, right? Or maybe you have a genetic disposition or towards something or against something. So, don't let that stop you, first of all. But it could be a factor, right? So just what's the next step? Some things are, all difficult to practice, but it's once you get into it, it's when they become easy. And whether that's sports or coding, that level of flow is waiting for you right around the corner. This was a really confusing VGT. I do apologize. I'll cut that first 10 minutes into the start, so maybe people get invested to stick around. And if you did stick around, thank you so much for watching and or listening. I kind of want to turn these into a podcast like I would call food for thought, but I can't really add something else onto my schedule right now. It would be a poor choice. But yeah, thanks yet again so much for watching and or listening. Have a good one. Don't forget to just focus on the next step. Have a good one. And as always, don't forget to stay awesome. See you next week.